Hey, what's going on, everyone? Vega here for SerpentX Tech, and in this video, I want to go over a Coinbase spot trading bot that I've built primarily with Python. And many of you have been asking me, what algo trading bot you like and yada, yada, yada. I recommend 3 commas because it's just there and it's already working, but subscriptions is the name of the game. And all of these services charge a lot to run their algo trading bots, and there's some other ways to do it. We're not going to talk about the different ways. We're just going to be focused on the one that I built that is free and available via GitHub. Now, this is the dashboard. I still need to update the GitHub repo, but you can see we've got different themes up here that you can change and toggle. You just choose the color that you want that suits your needs, whatever it might be. But right now, because I'm still testing parameters, you're going to run the default parameters that I have set. And I have a lot of different variables that we're going to talk about in today's video set in here. And you can see in the top left, my profit and loss is around 20 bucks. My win rate's a lot lower than I would like. You can see I got 6 wins, 12 losses because I was doing some adjustments and I was doing some testing. So we're getting better. Not to mention, when I was first creating this bot, not only were there a number of parameters not set properly, but the market was very, very bearish. But this graph, you got graphs here. You got the best asset, like NIR is the one I did the best at. I made 30 bucks, but obviously I lost on a few, like ENA and so on and so forth. You can see that it's telling us the next 5 possible trades, right? Taking into consideration what's going on, bullish divergence, RSI, score factors, fear and greed index. There's a number of parameters that is built into this one, and you can get it by just going to my GitHub. So if you go to google.com and you search, GitHub SerpentXSF and you open it up, you're not going to see it right away unless you go to the repos that are available. But I already have the repo pulled up and I'll have it linked down in the description. So it's the SerpentX Coinbase Spot Bot. And the prerequisites is you're going to need Python. And I would recommend Visual Studio, and at least, if you don't do Visual Studio, at least Notepad++, or, Sublime. But it does give you the walkthrough, right? Like, this is still in testing. I got version 2.0 out with the latest dashboard. 3.0 is going to be the dashboard that you see here, the one that I just showed you with the different colors. But I'm still fine-tuning, and I'll keep publishing updates as I can. But it gives you the full walkthrough of, how to set it up, notating, for legal purposes that this is only for educational purposes. This project is for education and experimentation. It's not financial advice, does not guarantee profits, and can lose money. Run in status preview mode first, right? So no live trading, and that you're responsible for your own API keys. And that's another prerequisite that you're going to need. You're going to need a Coinbase API, which if you collect those little diamonds on Coinbase, that will work out because you can pay for the higher tier API calls or the limits. And then, Python, like I said, and I'm going to use Visual Studio, but you can use Sublime or whatever because you're going to want to edit some of these things. Some of the strategies, though, take into context scores, right? So technical score, context score. Context score does look at news, markets, social media, and different whale sources. So if you have some whale APIs like unusual whales and stuff like that, you can input those parameters as well. Technical scoring is 15-minute EMA, price versus 1 hour EMA 50, 1 hour trend alignment, RSI. These are some basic indicators. This isn't like my go-to 100%, and I'm still fine-tuning. Again, some parameters when combined with other variables do not work well, and vice versa. But our RSI support, pullback setup, RSI that bullish divergence and bearish divergence has been added, but it hasn't been updated here. 24-hour momentum, and then obviously volume, right? You don't want to be trading into a token that has no volume. And Coinbase usually has, they have a lot of tokens, and some of those tokens might have little or limited volume, but there's usually no situation where there's no volume on Coinbase. Optional public free context use, using Google News, RSS, CoinGecko, right? API data. So fear and greed index, Reddit public JSON, right? Looking at socials and what Reddit's saying, because usually, if you look at all the socials, X, Reddit, so on and so forth, you can get, kind of some good data. You can glean some good data from it. And then Helios RPC and Solana RPC. You know, the spot bot is just that. It's spot. It's not going to be on the shorts, but it's going to, when there is a lot of bearish sentiment and the market is crashing, this spot bot does not do shorts, right? If you want to short something, that's more perpetual as an option. So the spot bot, instead of trading to the downside, will just, you know, set its stop losses, pull back out of the asset that it's in, and just sit on the sidelines with USDC until our indicators are hit, and then go back in. So this isn't going to be a short bot. This is just a spot bot in normally longs, while also trying to protect the USDC balance that you tell it you have. But yeah, it's not for margins or perps or anything like that. Safety design, I got a few in here. I think it could be a little bit better. So again, I'm still working on it, but you got a config.json that you're going to need to edit, which is why I said you need, you know, Visual Studio, Sublime, or Notepad++. Additional protections include daily trade cap, max open positions, so you can only trade so much during one day. You can only have 2 open positions at one and throughout the day, so 1, 2, and then when you make your first trade, it's stricter on the second trade. So like it's got to meet higher parameters. So the parameters end up with a score, right? And what I mean by that is, let's say I make my first trade, and that trade with all the parameters, socials, RSI, all the indicators, stuff like that, fear and greed, all hits, and now we got a score of 6. We make that first trade on near. The second trade is going to be much stricter. And so it's going to want a context score or an overall score of an 8 or 7 before it does that second trade. That can be loosened up if you're really wanting to degen, but I have it more conservative as I'm starting to, you know, trying to get more and more data aggregated, so that way we can make better buys and more profitable ranges. As you saw, my wins are a lot lower than my losses, but that was because of error on my part at the beginning. We're fine-tuning it, and we're getting a lot better. And you can just take this as a foundation and tune it to your liking. But here are the other, you know, protection rules in place, cooldowns, duplicate position prevention, so on and so forth. So yeah, it says you need Python 3.1, at least Coinbase API. We recommend other APIs like CoinGecko, Helios, whatever you can get for free. Make sure when you share your API, your Coinbase API, that you do not allow withdrawal and transfer. Just, you know, the normal trading stuff. Let's run through the dependencies we need to install. So on this system, we're going to open up PowerShell and run it as an admin, and then just copy and paste that command that it shows on the GitHub. And we'll run through some of these with you. I won't go through every single detail, but we'll run through some of these with you and go from there. All right, so first issue, Python was not found. Run without arguments to install from Microsoft Store. So you're going to go to your Microsoft Store and download Python. And I'm going to go ahead and just look up on Google Visual Studio, and I'm just going to go ahead and download the latest version from the official sources just to have that ready to go, even though we're waiting. Let's go back to the Microsoft Store, type in and search Python. Just get those prerequisites that I mentioned up and running first, and then go from there. Now, there's different versions of Python, and you can see on the GitHub, it's asking for 3.10 plus. So just make sure you're getting 3.10 plus, or that you already have that installed. We're going to go ahead and go with 3.13. It says own, so I'm just going to go ahead and install it on this system, because that's what own means. This is not installed on this system, but I do own it. What else is there prerequisites wise? I think that's the majority of it, but let's do that, and I will bring you back when we input the command. But you're going to run this command in your PowerShell, or you know, you can run this on Linux too if you want to. It's built for both. Now, even after that, unfortunately, if this is a new operating system and you're new to basically terminal or PowerShell or any type of command prompting system, you're going to bump into this. Your system is trying to protect you, and I understand that this is a GitHub from technically an unknown source. So your system is telling you that it cannot run this because the execution policy prevents it. To disable that, you're going to want to set execution policy to unrestricted. So you're going to want to copy this command that we have on screen. If you have to, pause the screen. And this is where it's going to tell you that the execution policy helps protect you from scripts that you do not trust. Changing the execution policy might expose you to security risks described in the About Execution Policy help topic, which is a website that they give you. Do you want to change the execution policy? I'm going to say why for yes, but if you're running this on your daily driver, I would not recommend it. I would just run this on a dedicated system that you can call, because believe it or not, this dashboard is being ran through. So first off, I'm SSHing into, because it's running off a local host on a separate system, but obviously this computer is not that local host. So I'm SSHing to that IP on a specific port, 2048, which you can always change, and you can see the address in the top here. And then I'm going to localhost 2048 because I'm SSH'd into it. And here's the terminal showing that. And this is running on Umbrel, but you can run this without Umbrel. This is something that's unsecure, because if you allow scripts to be ran and you're not astute on your main driver, your main system, then people can run silent scripts on your machines and leave you susceptible for, some type of attack vector. So it's up to you. But long story short, yeah, I'm doing this on a separated system just to show you how to do it. But I do have this running, for me to access and stuff like that. It could be just my VM being stupid, but let's just move on to the repository and getting it. So we're going to need git. I'm pretty sure this command's going to fail because this new system doesn't have git installed, but let's see. Yep, git, the term git is not recognized. So we're going to need to install that as well. So you could just really, honestly, install git from PowerShell. And you can run this from command line if you want to, but we just need to get git for Windows. Doesn't matter which way you do it, but we need to definitely get it. So let's see here. I'm not going to do portable. I'm just going to do the normal exe. Not ARM, but just a normal x64, and let's go ahead and install that. Check the box to add git bash profile to Windows terminal and continue the installation process. I'm gonna leave this alone, but you can choose the editor that you want to use, right? So you got Visual Studio, Notepad++, Sublime is in here as well. Basically, this is the Vim editor, which is powerful, but it can be hard to use. So I'm going to go to Visual Studio, which I haven't installed yet. But yeah, choose whichever one suits you. I'm installing Visual Studio at the same time. Again, because this is new and I'm still coding it up, there's probably going to be issues, and I welcome you to test with me and report back anything you find. On Git, we're just going to let Git decide. Git from command line, leave it on recommended. We're not going to do anything crazy. Use bundle open SSH, not external. Use native Windows sort secure library. Check out Windows style commit Unix. We're going to leave everything on the initial that they set. I'm sure there's one parameter that somebody's yelling at me right now. They'll be like, what are you doing? But we're going to leave that all alone. Visual Studio is installing. Git's installing. Let's let that rock. I switched over to my main system because this is my GitHub repository. I can install it on my main system because I trust the developer who created it. And when you run this first script right here, right, I already have all the basic, requirements installed and stuff like that. Visual Studio, I even have Notepad++, Git, all of it. This is what you're going to see. When you run this command, you're going to get a text notepad that pops up that is just, you can just close it out, but it does pop up and it does install it. So we see where it's at. And now we're going to move on to getting the repo by using the git command. Again, I already know this is installed on my system. I'm going to leave this up. And we're going to go ahead and open up a new window. I like to run my command prompts in administrative mode, to be honest. So when I type in CMD, run as administrator, I right click, run as administrator. So let's get, we're downloading, we're cloning it. All right. Now we need to, I think we changed to that directory. Yep, we're in that directory right now. We can see where it is. Technically, we don't really want it in this folder, so you could move it and change that directory. Let me show you how to do that real quick. And the only reason I'm doing it in Windows, because I prefer Linux, is because most of you are in Windows. So I'm going to go to that directory, which is in Windows System 32. And then I'm going to go grab that sucker and pull it out and move it to somewhere else. So that way I can safely, because I don't like working in System 32. I just don't like it's insecure in my opinion. But let me find it real quick. There it is. So I'm going to rip that out, put that wherever you want. And then that's the directory we're going to have it in. And again, open up CMD in administrative mode. And we're going to do CD, right? If you copy where this is, if you click that URL at the top of the file explorer, CD, right click. We should be able to change directory, but of course this thing is being stupid. CD, and this is just protection. You don't have to do this, but this is just for protection. I don't like putting stuff in my Windows directory. So now we're in that directory. If you run the git command, just make sure you run it inside the directory you want to put it in. That's just basically it. Now we can create a local config file and environments. Let's see if the folder actually has that right now. So documents starts with an S, and I see the environment example, but I don't see an environment configuration. So we'll go ahead and copy this. We don't have to do chmod, right? Because that's for Linux, Mac. I wonder if we need to run these two. Let's see if that's also Linux and Mac. Yeah, that's what I thought. CP is not recognized as internal commands. Is if we go to the environment example and then edit in Notepad++, you can see there's an area here for us to put in our API keys. Helios, unusual whales, Coinbase trading right now is set to 0. It will tell you in the instructions to set it to 1 for live trading. And then your API key from Coinbase, and then your private key, your key name, and then your private key. So that's all that's in here. And if I wanted to update that, I would do file save as, and I would remove the .example, right? And then, or I can just save it as it is, and then I can rename it, right? And remove the .example. And what that's going to do is it's going to warn us if you want to change this file extension, the file might become unusable. Are you sure you want to change it? Yes. And you can always go back and edit it. Like you can always right click and edit it. I think I'm jumping ahead of myself, but make sure your keys are in there. Make sure you save it or make a copy of the example. And then like we could just do that right now. So I'm going to paste it, refresh, copy, paste. All right, there's a copy and we can rename that. Oops. We can rename that back to example. So .env.example, or leave it alone and make a copy of it and then change the name. So there we go. We're going to need to put in our parameters. So edit that environment variable, right? Keep Coinbase trading on 0 until you were ready to go live trading with the switching the number 0 to number 1. Add optional API if you want to. All that good stuff. And then basic usage status and read-only run. Check market data if credentials are presented. Like if you did put your Coinbase API in there, it would check the market data if credentials are presented, or the Helios or anything else. And then this is the command to, kind of check the JSON status, which by the way, if we go to config.json, where is that guy at? I don't think it's in here yet. I think we would have to set it up. So let me go ahead and configure this environment. I don't want to show it to you, but I'm going to add some API keys real quick, just so I could show you some basic information and usage. By the way, on your Coinbase, if you go and log in and you click on See More, you can click on Advanced API to go to that section and get to your API keys. Again, I don't want to show it to you on my screen because I don't want to give you access to my API keys, and any access or visibility you do get, I am immediately going to delete it after this video anyway, so it's not going to work. Then hit Create Your API. It's going to take you to a different dashboard. Then hit Create API Key. Looks like my light is dying on us. So in this case, we're going to do CB bot test. We can choose the portfolio we want to give it access to, and then make sure we check trade execution. And that's pretty much it. You don't need to worry about transfer, receive. And then I would recommend whitelisting your public IP of the device that you're going to be using this bot on to communicate with Coinbase. So whatever the IP of the device that this is installed on, this program is installed on, is what you want to whitelist your IP. you can just Google search my IP, and then we'll give you the public IP of whatever your ISP or internet service provider is providing, and put that in here, and you're good to go. After you hit create, if you have 2FA enabled, it's going to ask you to complete the steps. Obviously, that should be turned on anyways. I hope you are securing your Coinbase account or any account, but just follow the prompts to complete and get your API key. Name and key. You need those two things. Now, I haven't played around with unusual whales, which is the next one, but if you go here, you can see the API. You are going to need to create an account or sign in, but here's the pricing. Doesn't look like they have a free tier, unless I'm wrong. Somebody let me know in the comments, but I do not have a API key for unusual whales, but that is supported if you do happen to have one, which will, give you a little bit extra, especially for paying attention to when whales move funds and get those alerts and stuff like that in real time. So something I would consider, but the price is just outside of what I'm looking to do. So now let's move forward with the rest. We got our API keys configured in the environment. So we're going to save that, close that out. You can't see it because it's on a different screen. And now let's go through the basic usage together. So it says check market data, blah, 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 status and read only run. All right, so let's copy that. All right, so that CP environment example didn't work. We just edit it. All right, error, no such directory or config.json. So the config.json is not there. CP command did not work. So we need to go back to that because the config.json did not apply. And if my memory serves me right, CP just stands for copy. So let's see what happens. And again, I'm doing this with you because the system cannot find the file specified. So the config.json is not there, but we're trying to build it. So maybe that's something I need to improve. I am getting a Windows Defender notification. That might be why things aren't working. So Windows Defender is blocking actions. And that's respectable. That's respectable. Yep, it was just that. So CP is for Linux, and you need to replace CP with the word copy on Windows, but there it is. The file is copied. Let's go to that directory now, and we should see, hopefully, a config.json. Yep, there it is. So config.json and config.example. All right, so both of those are set up. I didn't run this command, so I'm going to go ahead and run that. Again, replacing CP, because that's for Linux, with the word copy, which we already have an environment. So I need to be careful with this because I already just configured this environment. So let's, I'm going to change the name of that real quick and see if it makes another one. All right. And when we hit enter, let's see what happens. Yeah. So it created another environment and another example. But I already I skipped ahead and created because I already knew what we needed. So I changed it to main, and now I'm going to get rid of that one that it just created and put it back to env or environment. Now we need to edit with our API keys credential, which we talked about. So I did that a little bit out of order, and that's because CP wasn't working, and I should have picked that up because that's a Linux command, not a Windows command. So that's my bad. Again, just notate that. I'll try to make a note if I can, if I remember. Basic usage. Now we should be able to run these commands. Let's see if I'm correct on that. So Python script, right? So Python, the program is running the script, Coinbase _spot_bot.py, and then the config and config.json and status. So just making sure that the status is there, there is a file. Let's see if it's pulling up anything. Windows is blocking it again. God bless America. Hang on one second. I have to tell Windows to stop being a little baby. I probably need to add an exclusion. Let me show you how to do that real quick. This is why I hate Windows, but again, you guys are all up on that stuff when everybody's moved on to Linux. But if we go to, manage settings, scroll down, exclusions, we should be able to add an exclusion and then add this directory. So if I copy this directory, add exclusion, folder, paste this directory at the top, and then select folder. There we go. We should have less interference. So let's run that command again. See what happens. So it's just trying to get the status of the config.json file that should be in that folder. So missing auth dependency. So I need to open up this config.json. I'm not going to do it on the screen, but let's go to the example. So right click, edit in Notepad++. And then here it is. right? So allowed products, active trades, it can update this, and it's got all the different indicators, downside indicators, long indicators, so on and so forth. I wonder if I didn't enable my API on Coinbase just yet, but this is the basic config is what it basically is. It's just the initial config that can be altered or updated by you. But let's go ahead and save this or get out of it. And then I need to check that JSON file. I think I'm missing a dependency or two. Let's try pip install and then pyjwt. See what happens. Okay, installed. So I was missing a dependency. Let's try that again. Yep, still missing the dependency. Wonder why that's giving me that error. But this is the problem that you're going to face too. Again, I got this running on Linux, Ubuntu, a lot easier than Windows. Let me make sure my virus protector is not being stupid or blocking anything, but you're going to need to troubleshoot, and I can't give you all the answers. So this is going to require a little bit more, individual effort, but I just wanted to, let you know that I got one running. I got a dashboard. It's pretty cool. And yeah, you can configure it. If anything, you know what I would say the ideal situation would be to go ahead and for easier novice users, I would run Hermes via WSL on Windows if you want to be on Windows. But if anything, run VirtualBox via Umbrel and install the Hermes app. Tell it to grab this GitHub file and get it set up. It will ask you various questions like, what is the, config environment file and Coinbase API. And you need to do that through terminal, not through chat in Hermes. But you'll be able to fill it out. And you'll be able to tell it, hey, I want to I want to target these tokens. Hey, I want to target, this balance or this portfolio with a balance of $100, $1,000, whatever. And that would be a little bit easier because you'll be able to talk to it. It will give you the commands to run in terminal to where you can enter in your various API keys and stuff or add additional API keys. That would be my best setup for a novice. This is a little bit more technical, and you're going to bump into issues like I'm experiencing. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. This video is running very long, but I want to go through the initial setup through Python. You don't need to do all that. You can do it through Python, but I'm still bumping into development hurdles that I need to continue to fix, which I will continue to do as I release new updates. All right, so for my individual issue, I needed to run pip install pyjwt bracket crypto end bracket. I forgot the appropriate terms for it. You guys can grill me in the chat. But yeah, that ran it, that installed it, and now when we ran the JSON file, as you can see here, Coinbase Spot Bot, it gave us the date, the time, mode preview, status only, top coins, parameters that we have set, RSI, all that good stuff, reasons why they are the top coins, so on and so forth. It checked the balances we have, so on and so forth. So this is going to be a lot of external information shown to you. I only have a couple $100 in Coinbase, but just something that you need to be aware of. But yeah, it can read it. And so now we can move on. And I had to Google search this. But yeah, this is the command I needed to run in order to get that up and working and then run the JSON. Now we can move on to the next part. Let me go ahead and close these out. And the next part is this guy right here, preview only strategy run. Let's see what we got. Shouldn't print any of my API keys, but I need to be careful about that. Make sure it's not printing anything. Yeah, it's not. Okay, so let's see what this guy's going to do. All right. Same kind of preview, a little bit different, right? It's telling us almost the same thing, but its proposed products or top buy would be VVV USDC. But again, we got to give it some more options as far as the pairs. Scan Coinbase USDC pair right up the top 5 JSON. So we're going to run this right here, rotate and run because we want to get the latest top 5. It might be pulling from what we already had in our JSON file. So we're going to run this script right now and see what it changes the top 5 tokens that it thinks we should trade right now. It takes a minute to complete, unfortunately. Just give it a second, but you can see it printed out everything. A lot of good data. CoinGecko, unavailable, but it printed out a lot of stuff. Looking at the API keys. Oh, thank God it didn't show my API keys. Good Python script. Good Python script. These are balances, decision, order too small, generated, report, rotated from ZEC onto ENA, near VVV to VVV, ALLO, Hype, ADA, and Doge as the top 5. And then it gives us some information about why it's thinking about those top 5 with the parameters that we chose. So, and you could set up cron jobs to run this rotator ever so often, which is what I would recommend to do for the Python script to, execute trades effectively. I think I have a cron job where this thing rotates 180 minutes or maybe 360 minutes, because you got to be careful how many calls you make if you're going to be using stuff like Helios or Tantum or CoinGecko. With the free tiers, you only get so much. But, rotate, scan Coinbase API, top USD pairs, top 5. Why are they the top 5? Do they fit our parameters with the RSI and the various other indicators and variables like the fear and greed index and so on? And print that, give that to the script, and then it will look at executing a trade. So you will need some cron jobs in order to make this happen. How do you set up a cron job? Oh my God, guys, you got it. I can't teach you everything. How to set up a cron job. All right, I'm just gonna have some links around and stuff like that, but it's open terminal, command cron tab -e, and then you put in the what you want to run, right? Like the application, like schedule a task, right? To schedule, and then you can set time, like 180, 360, whatever it is, shorthand. So watch, we'll ask this. How do I run this Python script, and then put it in brackets, to run every 3 hours? What is question mark? What is the command? I mean, you guys, I know a lot of people hate AI, but you got to leverage it to some extent. So here's our actual command that we can run, right? Here's the command that we can actually run to set up that cron job, so on and so forth. So there's some fine-tunability that you and many of the experts that watch this channel would know and comment on. Retro Mike's really great with Python and really great with Docker and all that stuff, but I can only get you so far. The foundation is there. You're going to need to optimize it to your liking. I am working on a GUI, a graphic user interface, but you got to give me time. This just only popped up because individuals were asking me about it. And honestly, paying for 3 commas and all these other trade bots, algo bots, can get expensive. But lightweight exit monitor checks exit bot managed positions only. It does not scan the whole market. Preview status output. So this is the exit monitor JSON, which should be also in here. Where's it at? Right here. So we just want to make sure that file is working. So we're going to run that. There it is. It sees no positions. It's not seeing any Bird Eye API, CoinGecko API, any of that stuff like that, which again can be configured. And I'll probably again keep pushing out updates. But we can make the monitor live exit monitor. After all live gates are intentionally enabled, we want to go ahead and enable that as well. So remember earlier in the environment file where we changed Coinbase trading from 0 to 1 to go live, we need to do this as well to make sure it's live. The monitor stays quiet on normal hold, no position ticks unless JSON is supplied. So local performance dashboard, how to run a local performance dashboard. If we're running this, right, and we could change the port, but if we're running this command, we should be able to go to this IP address on this computer because we're physically on it, right? So let's see if it comes up. Boom, there it is. And this dashboard isn't the updated dashboard, but it will be in the future. And I'll probably have sections in there for you to add other API keys. But this is where you would see, but you're definitely going to need some cron jobs to run things, right? Scan the top 5. Is any of the top 5 hitting our requirement? Or our various indicators and variables, like is the score 6 or 5 or whatever or higher, because we're very stringent on what trades we want to make, and then it will execute those trades. But you need to have cron jobs running. But yeah, now we got that going. If your live bot state is in another folder, point the dashboard, add it without moving any secrets. That's this if it's in a different folder, but I just showed you how to do it in your Windows environment. So we got the folder in our documents. Again, you can put it wherever. My computer is being stupid. And then you can turn on trading if you want to, but I would recommend leaving it in preview mode until you get things squared away. Only after you understand the risks and reviewed your config, then you can run this command, or in the environmental variable, change it from 0 to 1 to go ahead and push that stuff live. The config live and the Coinbase spot bot live. I also have some scheduling examples for Linux and Mac as well. Should be having scheduling examples for Windows. I'm surprised it's not showing in here, but this is why I like Linux. Any scheduler can run the same Python commands above. The product does not require any agent runtime or app platform. Here are what the various files do for each one. Never commit. I think this is for me. Never commit this information to that GitHub. API guidance, use the least permissions required. Trading only, no withdrawals, no transfers. Consider whitelisting your IP. And then development checks. If you want to check it out, you could run this as well. So there's still some work for you to do, but I at least got you started. We got the dashboard up and running. We're currently in preview mode, and we don't have any cron jobs configured. So we need to set that up and let it eat. But I'm going to make some optimizations to the environmental config, or the config.json as well, to where you can just input basic information. Matter of fact, let's open it up before I let you go. If we go to config.example, edit in Notepad, this I can let you see, and I move out of your way. What I want to say is there should be a section in here. I need to put in something in here so that way you guys can explicitly say how much of the funds you want to use. Like only $100, only $1,000, like whatever your balance is, you can set and lock it at. But typically, it's no matter what you set it to, it's going to do a specific trade. Like right here, minimum quote balance trade $15, max quote $25. So it's only gonna do like $15 to $25 right now, and I just want to make sure that the rotator is going to continue to work. I'll continue to test in the background, but in the environmental config, I noticed that there is no section for you to add your various API keys if you did want to add CoinGecko and other ones. So I'll push out another update, but just stay tuned and take what I built and make it your own. Like, play around with it. You need to learn how to use AI to your advantage and aid you in whatever you do to the day-to-day or whatever it is. And 2, you need to understand code, whether it's Python, Git, doesn't matter. Using commands on a day-to-day is highly recommended. Retro Mike was a big proponent of that. I've been in the industry for a long time, and I messed around with Windows servers and Linux servers, but this is the first time I've gone very deep into coding, especially because I want to expand my knowledge as far as understanding programs, how they work, what they're doing, what they're calling to, audit the software, audit the smart contracts. So I'm still learning, and I appreciate your patience as I do, and constructive criticism is most like, I appreciate that. Don't be an asshole about it if it would be, or a bitch, but I'm building something here. I got the foundation laid out. I'm sharing it with you in this long-winded video. I'm going to continue to push out updates. It's primarily in Python. Yes, you need to run some cron jobs, but I will get those updates out as soon as possible, so that way you can look at the dashboard, and hopefully you guys get a good win rate and stuff like that. But that's going to do it for today's video. This is just the foundation. I need to push out the latest updates. I will do that, and we at least got the foundation set up, so if I do any future updates, we come back to this computer and we pull the latest repo, and we update any parameters that we need to, API keys or otherwise, and then maybe we can turn it on. If I got some extra funds, which I don't right now, we'll turn it on. Right now, I'm only playing with $100 to test the bot that I have running, this same bot, but on a different system, on a separated system. This one we'll use and maybe, play around and see how it performs, and provide an updated video on that. But what are your thoughts? I'm sorry it took so long to produce this video. I know some of you asked me questions about it. I know some of you want a clean, GUI crypto trading bot. I'm working on it. It's not polished. It requires a lot of information, databases, especially like user logins and stuff like that. But I'm working on it. I'm studying it. I'm understanding it. I'm going to make sure I do it right to a degree and maybe have your assistance. You're more than welcome to become a member of the channel, join the Discord, and help out and contribute in some form or fashion if you're interested in that. But I thank you so much for your time and hanging out with us throughout this entire video. I'm so sorry it was so long, but do me a favor on the way out. Hit that like button, get subscribed, hit notification bell to stay up to date, as well as check out additional links in the description to help support the channel and what we do here. Again, there were some issues we bumped into, so I hope you watch this video to figure out how to work around it, or you know how to Google and get the answer you need. So hope you paid attention. But if you find an issue, report it to me, and let me know. The GitHub is public, so let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, take care.